If you're watching this, you already know I did a complete ROM hack of the original Metroid for NES. One of the hardest parts of doing this ROM hack was recomposing the music. You can't just compose music and turn it into some kind of 8-bit format and insert it into a game. Every game had its own sound engine built for that specific cartridge, so you can't even swap music between games. Luckily, there's a guy by the name of Snarfblam who made a Metroid tuner, which is a music editing app for Metroid specifically. However, like I mentioned, I couldn't just write the music in my DAW, convert it to an 8-bit format, and insert it into the game. So let me show you what I had to do to compose the music for this game before recomposing it again in my DAW for the stereo recompose soundtrack. Alright, here's the raw data for the theme song of this main stage here. All Nintendo games have 4 sounds. There's Square 1, Square 2, which are both synths. Triangle is another synth, but it's usually an octave lower, and they use it for bass. And then there's a noise track, which is used for like drum noises, like your snare hits and your bass kicks and whatnot, hi-hats and whatnot. And these 4 tracks all played simultaneously at the same time, just like a live band would or like anything in a DAW. So it would look something like this. Square 1 would be playing on top of Square 2, which would be playing on top of the triangle, which would be playing on top of the noise track, if there was one. So there wasn't like an actual tempo for NES games. What it was is the NES ran on 64 frames per second. So what I had to do here is, this is the code. 1C is the code for the note length. When converted into hexadecimal, because we're dealing with hex code here, it turns out to be 28. So hex code 1C means 28 frames in length. And the little lines below it denote what note would be playing for that duration of time. I have dashes here, so there's no actual note data. So we're going to skip down to 70. 70 in hex code is 112 frames. So then you got to take 112 frames, divide it by 64 frames per second, and what you get is 1.75 seconds. So each of these notes, D4, C5, B4, A4, D4, C5, etc., all play for 1.75 seconds. Then it moves down to the next. So I had to do that for all that, and then I had to go to Square 2, make sure all those notes line up with different note lengths and different notes, and then repeat it again for the triangle track, which would be used for the bass, and the noise track. And once I was done with all that, I had to load the game, go to that portion of the game just to make sure that the music sounded right. And sometimes I had to play for several minutes before even getting to a portion, even when using cheats like Game Genie and stuff like that to transport immediately to a certain stage. And after that, the real fun started. After composing the 8-bit soundtrack, I took every song and I recomposed it all in my DAW as a stereo soundtrack. So enjoy this leak of the recomposed version of the Mica Surface theme.